Robbins and Willard.
You should be good to go, Mr. Chairman.
All right, I'd like to welcome everybody to the Town Planning and Zoning Commission meeting for October 26, 2022. If everybody could rise for Pledge of Allegiance.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Renata, could you do the roll call again, please?
Noreen is in the
Noreen is
room.
on. Okay, Noreen, if you could do the roll call, please, I'd appreciate
Sure.
it.
Okay, Chairman Payne,
Here.
Commissioner Claffey,
Here.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Here.
Commissioner Havens,
Here.
Commissioner Linares,
Here.
Commissioner Trister,
Here.
Commissioner Woods,
Here.
Commissioner Braverman, Commissioner Droz,
Here.
Commissioner Gill.
Here.
You're all set.
And Noreen, we have a new commissioner, Gia Pescarelli. I'm sorry if I mispronounced it. And in replacement for Hyde Braverman.
Oh, okay.
Okay, and she is here. Okay, our next thing on the agenda is approval of the agenda. I think there's no changes, so no changes to the agenda. We'll go right into public participation. If there's any member in the room that would like to speak under public participation, please come forward. If there's somebody online within the Zoom application, raise your hand if you'd like to participate during public participation. If calling in the Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand. To be recognized, use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. And if you can, state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody online?
There's a number of people online. They don't have their hand raised right now.
Is there anybody from the public here? Seeing none and hearing none, we'll move on to our zoning enforcement officer's report.
There are no changes since the last one.
Is it missing from the?
I didn't even see one under the,
Be on the
It
agenda.
was not supposed to be on the
It's only the
agenda.
first month.
because it goes every other.
Right, so
Okay.
I apologize for
Does
letting it slip onto the agenda.
That's all right, not a problem. Is there any questions for the zoning enforcement officer with any properties? Okay, we'll move on to the remarks by commissioners, if any commissioners have any remarks. Hearing none, we'll move to the first petition. I'm sorry, before we move forward, could I have the Secretary, Commissioner Havens, read the procedures for a public hearing, please?
Certainly, Mr. Chairman. Procedures for public hearings. The order of proceedings of public hearings shall be as follows. A, convening by the chairperson. B, reading of the notice by the commission secretary or commissioner designated by the chairperson to act in their stead. C, presentation by applicant. D, town planner report on the application. E, persons wishing to speak in favor of the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. F, persons wishing to speak in opposition to the application, limited to 3 minutes per person. G, rebuttal by the applicant, limited to 5 minutes total. During a public hearing, it shall be within the discretion of the chairperson whether the time limitations should be varied slightly, provided the commission consents to any such variance by a majority vote.
Thank you very much. If I could have Commissioner Woods, if you wouldn't mind reading petition 41-22, please.
Okay, Mr. Chairman, petition 41-22, special permit, section 3.15.4, drive-through restaurant within the BT zone at 751 Russell Road. Applicant is Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC, owner HDC 1 LLC, contact Kevin Soley.
Good, thank you, Commissioner. And the applicant can come forward.
Hi, good evening, members of the commission. For the record, my name is Kevin Soley. I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of Connecticut with Soley Engineering. Office is located at 501 Main Street in Monroe, Connecticut. If you'll just bear with me, I'm trying to log on to the Zoom to get our presentation pulled up, so we're able
No
to
problem.
work through that.
If I may ask the applicant through the chair, how do you plan on presenting? Do you plan on presenting the entire project together or just the gas station
Sure.
to start with?
I was just about to touch on that. So obviously we have two petitions before you. One for a special permit for the drive-through restaurant within the zone at 751 Russell Road. And then one for special permit for motor vehicle services at the same address. What we would like to do is provide one presentation to kind of capture both of those special permit applications.
Mr. Chair, perhaps we should read the
I'll
second
read the
legal
second one.
notice.
Yeah, Commissioner Woods, if you could read the second petition 42-22 into the record.
Petition 42-22, special permit, section 3.15.9, motor vehicle services within the BT zone at 751 Russell Road. Applicant Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC. Owner is HDC 1 LLC. Contact Kevin Soley.
Our hotspot seems to be pretty slow. Maybe do you have a Wi-Fi password?
There is a, can you connect?
Oh, can we plug in directly? I'm not sure if we have.
Oh, you might need, yeah, if you don't have your own cable.
Service isn't good in this building.
Look at that.
Did that help?
Change the input.
Is there any input that needs to be changed to
Disconnection.
Does it usually just pop up? Screen green.
You have the plans for copies? Did you bring them up or no?
Yeah, you bring up. I could bring up some, yeah, but they're not probably the most recent.
Flash drive for a PowerPoint presentation. If you might be able to put that in your.
I think we'll have to get some technical help actually because projection changed.
If you want to start reading out the drawings, so it's not a problem. And then as he comes back, we can plug that stuff in.
So again, for the record, my name is Kevin Soley with Soley Engineering. With me here this evening is Luke Morrow from my office, project manager, and Mike Frisbee, who's the owner and operator of Noble Real Estate Holdings and Noble Fuel, Noble Gas. We're here tonight to talk about the proposed development at 751 Russell Road. We're really excited to be here because we know this site itself has had some pretty good history with some various products that have been considered.
Yeah, it swaps over.
This one?
Of course. What are you looking for?
We
Which
have.
which on the Wi-Fi? I'm on the hotspot.
You're on the hotspot. You're on a hotspot.
Yeah.
Which I was trying to see if I could just log into the Zoom and
Yeah.
You're the best.
Yeah, it's because you're on the sticks.
Do you have the Wi-Fi password?
Not on the restricted, unfortunately, because that's security.
Right, but we got the thing back, so let us try. Maybe we can project.
We do have a flash drive too. Yeah. Okay. Look at this. We're figuring things out.
Change it when you're on.
We got Gary up there.
You got a bunch of folders. I don't know which one it may be, it may not be,
You never know what documents you might need, right? Just
or if it's just this.
the PDF is probably the best. Yeah, that's probably the easiest. That should do.
Close the bottom one too there.
This?
I want to give you this as well. Where am I? Control L. Do we have a second one? Okay, you're gonna use that right now.
I know, it's hilarious.
Let's get you shared.
Promise it's gonna be worth the wait.
He said he was supposed to be the
Zoom.
What-
Yeah, got me. Yep. Go ahead and share the screen to it. Should say PDF there. Share on that.
I thought your boy was Caleb.
How do I,
You have the clicker? Coming up, you pull in. Zoom and everything.
No, he should be able to.
oh,
Give me 1 second.
Where? At your shop.
And they're done.
Try it now. There you go.
All right.
We're good.
Okay, now we're cooking with gas. So again, we're here tonight to talk about project 751 Russell Road. We're very excited to be here. Obviously, the property has some history. It's been approved for a number of different projects in the past, and development
When
has
he's
essentially
done, how do we go back?
had its challenges. So it's currently
Stop
He's just gonna do
sharing.
the share
undeveloped,
and
somewhat
swap over
disturbed
to
site.
Stop
You
sharing.
know, we're excited to be here with Michael Frisbee from Noble Gas, because what he's doing is, we believe, is really kind of the future of transportation. We're not talking about your traditional or conventional gas station. It's so much more than that. And the proposed project includes, oh,
Yes.
I'm just going to give a high level overview and then pass it over to Luke to talk through some of the specifics. But the project includes a proposed gas station with convenience store, with, your traditional fueling canopy, but also Mr. Frisbee and Noble is very focused on the future of where transportation is going. So with this application actually includes a separate EV charging canopy. So it's a very similar experience for people who go to a gas station today to fill up their car. They get under a canopy and pump their gas. We're creating an environment and a place where if you have an EV electric vehicle, you can have a similar experience. You can pull up under a canopy, you can stop, you can plug your electric vehicle in. Then you can go into a facility that's much more than just your typical convenience store that you may find at a traditional gas station. It's something that's built it's highly amenitized, and it includes a number of different options, whether it's a coffee with a drive-through, or a sandwich shop, or even an ice cream shop. And it's something that's far greater than what is really available in the area today. Additionally, as part of the application is a proposed car wash. And then what we're really excited about is an electric vehicle showroom, which we'll talk through a little bit as well as part of the presentation. So with that, I'm going to pass it over to Luke and let him run through the detailed presentation, and then we'll be here to answer any questions the commission may have. Mr. Frisbee's also here available if anyone has any questions for him as the owner and operator.
Good evening, members of the commission. Again, for the record, Luke Morrow. I'm a senior project manager with Solely Engineering. professional engineer in the state of Connecticut, and a professional traffic operations engineer. Kevin gave a good high-level overview, so just want to kind of orient everybody as best as we can. I don't think there's a pointer on here, but so there is shown above you is a outline of the town of Newington. The project is located just west of the Berlin Turnpike at the intersection of Russell Road and East Cedar Street, kind of centrally located on the eastern side of town. So we'll take a zoom in look. So just to orient everybody here, Berlin Turnpike is the major arterial you see on the right side of the screen there. The property is abutted on the east side by Russell Road and the off-ramp to the Berlin Turnpike southbound there. East Cedar Street abuts the property on the south side. Then there's some vacant open space, I believe is owned by the town, to the west side of the project. And then in the northeast corner, we abut a Jensen machine shop. So as part of our site plan here, as Kevin had noted, we're proposing a gas station, which is an 8,384 square foot convenience store with a coffee shop user. It has a sandwich shop user and an ice cream shop user with an adjacent outdoor patio area. The gas station itself, which is just west of the convenience store building, it'll be a 12-pump gas station, and then just to the west of that, there'll be a covered canopy for EV charging stations with capacity for up to 12 EV chargers there as well. Just to the north of the gas and EV canopies is a automated car wash. And then all the way to the southeast corner of the property is that larger building is the EV showroom and service center that Kevin had discussed. And that's a two-story building. Everything else is a single story. Access to the site is provided via a proposed full movement signalized driveway located on the southwest corner of the property, which is on East Cedar Street. We're also proposing a smaller secondary access in the northeast corner of the property on Russell Road, which kind of shares access with the Jensen machine shop.
One item to point out regarding access is as we went through the review process with the town, very recently, we actually had some discussions with the owners and operators of Jensen Machine. Initial plans and the plans that might be before you initially had promoted, so their driveway access actually comes through the subject property. There's control through an easement. We initially had proposed to modify that access to kind of interconnect with our driveway. Through discussions with them, they had some potential concerns about that geometry. So what we're actually presenting this evening represents a slightly modified plan, which really maintains their access and so it would continue to exist as it does today. And it essentially kind of creates our access slightly adjacent to it. Luke will get into the traffic study in a little bit more detail, much more detail, but based on our traffic analysis, all the intersections in these driveways can function and operate without any adverse impacts from a safety standpoint. So
basically, you're going to allow him to leave it where it is, even though it comes onto your property a little bit. It's not going to interfere with your operations. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay.
So just more high level on the site plan, you can see on the northwest corner, there's a larger wetlands area. We denote the 50 and 100 foot wetland setbacks. We're not proposing any alteration to the wetlands or any construction within the 100 foot wetlands area. So those are maintained in their state they're in right now. The project itself, in terms of zoning, is compliant with all the bulk zoning regulations based on our interpretation for size of the lot, frontage requirements, setbacks, so on and so forth. However, there was a comment made as part of our zoning review that some further discussion needed to be had with the commission in regards to the height of the EV showroom, which we can get into more detail as we get into the architectural elevations of the plan. In total, there's 135 parking spaces proposed for this layout. That includes both development pads there, where 128 parking spaces are required per code, with a caveat that the code itself does not provide a parking requirement for car washes or for EV showrooms. So what we had done is we conservatively estimated the parking for the car wash at 5 spaces per 1,000 square feet, as would be required for retail use. I think we can all agree a car wash probably is not going to generate that much parking, but conservatively, that's what we had utilized. And then in terms of the parking requirements for the EV showroom, what we did is we looked at ITE, which is the Institute of Traffic Transportation Engineers. Sorry, they have a parking generation handbook, which basically provides guidance of for new car sales, what you would anticipate you would need for parking for that, which is, I believe, 2.21 spaces, I believe, per 1,000 square feet. So we parked the EV showroom to the ITE requirements, for lack of spelling it out in the town zoning code. So we'll move on to our might be too far.
Would you mind clicking forward for us? If I could, I would. Oh. Got it.
Hands off. Okay. Oh, and one other thing I wanted to mention is that one of the latest round of comments, we did provide late this afternoon a truck turning template plan that shows that the largest aerial fire truck that the town Newington Fire Department has can successfully traverse the site from both the Russell Road driveway and also from the East Cedar Street driveway. So there's uninhibited access for a large fire truck and also for tractor trailer deliveries as they occur. Just briefly walk you through the grading and drainage plan. Our grading design our grading was designed to mimic the existing drainage patterns on site. We will require a 10-foot high retaining wall between the EV showroom pad on the east side of the site that sits about 10 feet lower than the gas station and convenience store and car wash pad that sits on the left-hand side of the site. And anyone who knows East Cedar Street knows, as you travel from east to west, there's some significant grade change. So in order to make those grades work, it was necessary to do that. There's also a smaller retaining wall adjacent to the car wash building that will tie into the rear of the car wash, and a small portion of the car wash rear wall will also function as a retaining wall. The entire site today basically sheet flows into the overland, into the drainage system within Russell Road and East Cedar Street. It's all under Connecticut DOT. The drainage system in Russell Road proceeds down and connects into East Cedar Street, I believe, before outletting to the east side of the Berlin Turnpike. So our drainage has been designed in compliance with the 2004 Connecticut Stormwater Quality Manual and the 2000 Connecticut DOT Drainage Manual. In order to attenuate the flows, we evaluated the 2 through 100-year design storms. We do need 2 rather large-sized underground detention facilities. We're proposing what's a 5-foot high retainment, which is like a concrete chamber structure. They're set in an array, so as the water kind of flows in, it kind of all elevates there together. And that was designed with an outlet control structure in both of those, so that we match the existing flows under existing conditions for the proposed condition. Again, those will all flow into the state, ultimately discharge to the state drainage system within East Cedar Street. For stormwater quality enhancements, all the catch basins are fitted with hooded outlets, so that larger trash and debris that's floating is kind of stopped by the hooded outlet, can't make its way down the drainage system. Catch basins have 2-foot sumps to allow for settling out of dirt and grit and that kind of stuff. And any stormwater before it flows off site will be treated by one of 3 water quality units, swirl chamber, hydrodynamic separators, so for improved water quality before it does get out into the state system. Okay. In terms of our soil erosion sediment control measures, we have a 2-phased approach that was designed in accordance with the 2002 Connecticut guidelines for soil erosion and sediment control. The first phase shown on the screen here is just kind of clearing operations, earthwork operations for the mass earthwork. So along the perimeter, wherever there's steeper slopes are the limits of all our grading. There'll be a silt fence with hay bale backing if needed. We'll have a stabilized construction entrance for phase one off of East Cedar Street, which is per the town of Newington requirements. And then in order to settle out any stormwater runoff that may have some sediment in there, we have two sediment traps with temporary drainage swales that'll collect runoff on site, kind of channel them into those ponds so that the water can any solids and soil can settle out before proceeding off site. In addition, any existing and proposed catch basin structures will be fitted with silt sack inlet protection so that no silt migrates down into the state drainage system. In terms of utilities, high level, the site is going to be serviced by all public utilities. Gas, electric, and telecom are all proposed right now to come off of East Cedar Street, and then a sanitary sewer will come off of Russell Road. There are sanitary manholes on our side of the road there. I'm gonna click one more. In terms of landscaping, we did provide a detailed landscaping plan. Our goal is to generally spec drought-resistant plantings with a goal of 80% native species to the northeast. Any disturbed areas and steeper slopes will be, reseeded to establish lawn where there's not, actual shrubbery or trees or mulch in those areas. And we do have a special erosion control mix for some of the 2-on-1, 3-on-1 steeper slopes on the site. In terms of lighting, we did provide a detailed photometric and lighting plan. All the site lighting fixtures are designed with energy efficient LED lighting fixtures. They are dark sky compliant and they are shielded in order to reduce and minimize glare and try to prevent spillover at the property lines to the greatest extent practical. We'll go on to high level overview, and certainly if there's any more detailed questions about the operations, Mr. Frisbee's here to answer those questions. But floor plan for the convenience store, there are two entrances. In this orientation, the bottom of the store facade would be facing the west side in your site plan, just so it's rotated 90 degrees, so it's clear to everyone. So you have your two entrances on the bottom side there. There is indoor seating for, I believe, 36 customers. On the left side in this view is where the coffee and sandwich tenants would be located. So the drive-through would proceed from the right side around the back, and then the pickup window would be on the left over there. And then in the middle would be your convenience store with your soda, your chips, that kind of stuff, your cashier. And then on the right side, somewhat separate, is Frisbee's ice cream shop, Frisbee's Dairy Barn, I apologize. And then adjacent to that is an outdoor patio area for seasonal seating as well. So taking you to the outside, overview of what the facade looks like. It's a cream colored hardy plank siding. It's got like a stone veneer for the first 3 feet up from the ground, and it does have a dark black architectural shingles. So it's a kind of a what we like to think a nicer facade, and it's got tenant signage panels once the tenants are established for those users. This is a quick view of what the gas canopy look like. To match the convenience store, it does have higher end black architectural shingles on the top there, and then the accents for the columns and for the trim on the top are Frisbee standards, green, orange, and white colors. And then the EV showroom, the EV canopy, you may not be able to tell the difference, but it looks generally the same as the gas canopy. One more, and then high level. An overview of the elevations of what the proposed car wash would look like. So as you can see, it's basically been designed to mimic. So there's one cohesive design for the convenience store and car wash users. Same architectural shingles and a hardy plank cream colored siding. Next. And then floor plan for the EV showroom. This is the first level. Right now, likely two tenants, if you will, available to show types of electric vehicles. on the bottom side of the floor plan you see there. And then to the top right would be the EV service center, strictly servicing for EV vehicles, no hybrids, no gas-powered combustion engines or anything like that. It would just be service pretty much. Second floor, additional showroom space on the top with a view down to below on a small patio area. And then this is just, there we go. So view of the elevations. It is a light and dark shades of gray, like a metallic facade, and there are some vertical bamboo accents you see kind of in the brown color there. A lot of glass for display reasons, so you could see kind of the cars within those display windows. And then this would be a good time to touch upon. So there was a question in the planning comments about clarification in regards to the maximum height that's allowed per code. So this zone, the BBT zone, allows a maximum height of 35 feet. As dimensioned on our drawings, the height to the flat roof itself is 33 feet high. So by the letter of the code, the height from the ground level to the flat roof is 33 feet. It is in compliance with the height requirements of the zone. However, there are some architectural parapets at the top that have been designed to basically screen some of the mechanical equipment. And Kev, if you can go to, we have a rendered view. If you could see in the top right corner there, I know it's a little bit small, but you could see kind of the parapet rising over the top, and it's about 5 to 6 feet higher than the flat roof elevation, which is meant to screen those, those units up there. So, so I guess we would request an interpretation as to whether that would be considered compliant. If not, per section 4.4.3 of the regulations, it does allow the commission to approve ornamental structures over the maximum height of 35 feet if you deem necessary. So
we could talk about it. It is, I think it's important to screen the units on the roof, and I think some of the other commissioners might feel the same way, but
Sure.
we'll have a talk about that afterwards. No problem.
One quick point I wanted to bring up regarding that EV showroom. Obviously we know that this is a new and exciting type of concept. And we believe strongly that with everything that's kind of transpiring from a transportation standpoint, from a renewable energy standpoint, we do believe that this is the future. We know that there's been concerns, and we did receive the town's received some correspondence from some other people who were potentially concerned with this type of use. I just want to clarify that the proposed facility would operate in full compliance with section 8-12 of the CT General Statutes. This is not a proposed EV dealership. This is not a place to go and buy or purchase electric vehicles. This is simply a place for EV service to take place, which is allowed in the regulations, and a place where there could be potentially an opportunity and an educational opportunity to kind of learn more about electric vehicles and see more about the electric vehicles, and and kind of get with the times and kind of stay into the future with what we're proposing regarding transportation. So.
Okay, and then I'll take you through overview of the traffic impact study. So as part of the study, we analyzed 7 intersections for capacity issues. So starting 2 intersections in green are signalized intersections. So on the right side, we have the off-ramp from 15 northbound to East Cedar Street, which turns into Wells Road on the east side of the Berlin Turnpike. And then on the west side would be our proposed driveway, the signal on our proposed driveway. And the other 5 blue dots are unsignalized intersections, which is the left turn ramp on Wells Road eastbound onto the Berlin Turnpike northbound. And then there is the intersection of our driveway on Russell Road, the intersection of Russell Road with the Berlin Turnpike southbound ramps, the 2 intersections of the Berlin Turnpike southbound ramps on East Cedar Street. There is actually a way to get to Berlin Turnpike in 2 directions over there. As far as existing conditions go, we took traffic counts in July along at our study area intersections, and we did tube counts on East Cedar Street. The existing average daily traffic in July was about 28,400 vehicles per day along East Cedar Street in front of our site. The peak periods of the roadway observed generally occurred between 7:30 and 8:30 in the morning with morning rush hour, 5 to 6 p.m. during the weekday, and then on Saturday between 11:45 and 12:45. In order to project these existing volumes into our build year, which is 2024, we applied a 0.5% growth rate, which is generally deemed accessible by Connecticut DOT. We did reach out in terms of some other background developments that may be occurring in the area. I believe there was another facility further to the north. I think it was into Newington. Into Weathersfield on the Berlin Turnpike. However, that was located a distance away and did not appear that the volumes from that facility would impact our study area intersections, at least significantly. So based on our proposed development program, the Institute of Traffic Engineers, which I referenced before for the parking generation, they also have a trip generation manual, 11th edition was recently issued a couple of years ago, and they provide trip generation data for a number of land uses. So we did our trip generation based on a fast food with a drive-through user for the coffee and the sandwich shop. We did a trip generation for fast food without a drive-through for the ice cream user. We did a trip generation for the convenience store with the gas station for the gas pumps and the convenience store. And then we also did a trip generation for new automobile sales, which would represent the EV showroom. Generally speaking, we anticipate based on the existing traffic patterns that about 25% of the site traffic will come and go to the north on the Berlin Turnpike, about 40% to the south on Berlin Turnpike, 25% to the west on East Cedar Street, and then about 10% to the east on East Cedar Street. So all said and done, after we combine our trip generation for the uses on site, DOT allows us to take 20% credit for what's called pass-by, which are patrons that are already on the roadway, likely coming to and from work to happen to pass by the site. Hey, I want to get some gas, so they're already on the roadway. So inherently, there's some credit taken for that. Generally speaking, ITE says it's a lot higher than 20%. However, to be conservative, Connecticut DOT only allows us to take a 20% reduction. So in total, during the morning peak hour, we're anticipating about 366 new total trips. That's broken up of between 194 entering vehicles, 172 exiting vehicles. In the PM peak hour, about 342 new trips, 167 of those entering, 175 exiting. And during the Saturday peak hour, 411 total trips, about 205 in, 206 out. So we ran a capacity analysis for the existing condition, a no-build condition in the build year without our development, and then a build condition, which would be the build year with our development online. We used Synchro traffic analysis software for that, which is industry standard, and our results indicate that the study intersections analyzed will maintain background or acceptable levels of service. Everything will operate at a level of service. I think generally it was A, B, and C, which is all deemed acceptable levels of service, with the exception of our site driveway. So in order to mitigate the levels of the deficient levels of service at our site driveway, we are proposing to install a traffic signal, like I had mentioned, in the southwest corner of the property. In order to install a traffic signal, there are certain warrants you need to meet from the METCD. You basically need to have a high volume of traffic for 8 hours, generally is what the DOT looks for. And we exceed those volumes for that 8-hour period. So the project will require review and approval through OSTA. This property has been formally certified as a major traffic generator, so OSTA will do a review. It'll also go for encroachment permit before we can actually do any widening work or signal installation, on East Cedar Street. So in concert with that new signal, it made sense to construct a westbound left turn lane into the site. So in order to do that, we need to do some widening along the east side as well to kind of realign those lines on each side. of the driveway. And again, all those improvements will go through a thorough review by Connecticut DOT as part of OSTA and the encroachment permit process. And with that, I'll kick it back to you.
So, and then just to kind of reiterate that, our proposed traffic signal does obviously offset any impacts associated with our traffic. So it does maintain acceptable levels of service through the proposed installation of the signal. And we have been in preliminary conversations with the Department of Transportation. They've actually already reviewed some of our study and some of our volumes. And we'll continue to go through that process with them, which somewhat comes second to this process. So, with that, I think we'd be happy to answer any questions that the commission has, for the public and go through the normal course of business.
Very good. Thank you very much for the presentation. I'll go to the commissioners to see if they have any questions. Yes, Commissioner Woods, go right ahead.
On the retaining wall, on the backside of the convenience store and in between the showroom and electric vehicle service area, I'm looking, you don't have a materials plan here. So is there some sort of area, because that wall gets to be 10 feet high, right? It goes from, I think, 5 feet to 10 feet high. What's going to keep traffic from going over the top of it? Is there, I don't see a, post and guardrail, beam.
So for fall protection, there would be 4-foot high chain link fence on top of the wall itself, and then a guide rail as well.
Okay. I don't believe it's shown on the plan, but maybe I'm missing it. I have, well, same as you, I've got a half size drawing, so I'm old and.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit hard to see, but yeah, so it's a gravity block system.
You're gonna address it, that's.
Yes.
Okay.
Make sure to have.
Mr. Chairman.
Absolutely.
I like the way you have this new intersection on Cedar Street designed. I think it's better than what we've seen in the past. So I'm happy to see those improvements, and let's see what the other commissioners have to say and what the public has to say.
Thank you, Commissioner Woods. Commissioner Haggerty, go right ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The EV charging stations are only to be located on the gas station property, is that correct? No EV charging stations are proposed for the showroom?
No.
Yeah, no, we actually, we have, so we have the EV canopy in front of the gas station, but there will potentially also be some EV chargers in front of the EV showroom as well.
How long does it take approximately to charge a vehicle? Just curious, how long are these cars going to be there for?
So that technology is rapidly evolving. And I'm gonna ask Mike to come up because he's far more versed in it. I can certainly probably get my way through it, but
Batteries are empty, half empty, or whatever.
For the record, Michael Frisbee, I'm the owner of Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings and the owner of 751 Russell Road. Thanks for having me this evening. There's a lot of information with regard to the EV chargers. I can start from level 1, level 2 to the level 3 DC fast chargers. The intent for the Noble fueling facility is to have the level 3 DC fast chargers. In general, full charge will take 18 to 22 minutes. Okay, so that's for a full charge. A lot of the cars come in, they don't need a full charge, so it could take less time. The level 2 chargers, which I have in several of my locations now, we actually don't charge for that, and it takes 8 to 12 hours to get a full charge. It's like charging at home, basically. So it'll be a combination of those chargers at the EV showroom. So it won't. You'll have, the idea is to have a normal experience when you drive in to the Noble fueling station, where you can get gas or you can get a charge, get a sandwich, get a coffee, move out. EV showroom and service center, you're coming in for service. We want to be able to charge those vehicles. We'll have more level 2s there that we can charge over time, which won't be a demand charge, won't cost us much, that kind of thing.
But at the fueling station, you're planning on the level 3, which is the quick charge.
Correct.
18, which is a full charge in 20 minutes.
18 to 22 minutes to charge. Yeah. Depend on the type of charger, depend on the number of whips that you have, and if 2 cars come in at the same, there's a whole bunch of things. So,
and how many proposed charging stations were there? I apologize if I missed that.
Up to 12 spaces. So what we're building is for future proofing, right? So we'll be able to, have a couple chargers now, which will have up to 8 spaces, and then add a few spaces as we go as the demand allows. The more cars are on the road. The idea is to have enough spaces for people to come in when they're ready to charge and not have to wait.
Okay, thank you. One last traffic question. Is there any way you could pull up that aerial of the signal, what you just had up? There was the signalized intersection all the way to the right, which is northbound off ramp. It seemed to be that was the hotspot. I feel like almost there was the none of our trips doubled in that specific one. Is just curious what you think the genesis of so much traffic flowing northbound, exiting off, people turning left was versus people traveling southbound on the turnpike and exiting right.
I think, generally, I think there's just a higher population coming from the south,
Northbound. Okay.
moving northbound. And then, coming west and coming, to work for the workday.
But today, I feel like Barclay was like 70 something trips now, but projected to be 150. And it just seemed to be a much bigger jump than anywhere else up there.
Yeah, I mean, I think, based on what we see, the larger draw could be coming from the south side of the site. Yep.
Any other questions from commissioners? Yes, John.
Chairman.
Yeah, my question just about the EV showroom. So sort of the way, I'm just sort of trying to figure out how it's set up. It indicates in the plan that as a tenant, will you be leasing that space to like electric vehicle companies to show? How does that work? I'm just curious.
So that's a great question. I am working I'm building a Noble Travel Center in Sturbridge, Massachusetts right now. And next to that, I am glad to say that I've created a nonprofit to build the first electric vehicle discovery center in the United States. I partnered with a company out of Toronto called Plug and Drive, who has a discovery center up there. We're using their platform to be able to come in and actually make it better here in the Northeast to allow folks to come in a non-sales environment to learn and understand electric vehicles, the future of transportation. So I was just in Detroit last week. There was an Automotive USA conference, and I was working with all the different car manufacturers. And they're partnering with me at the EV Discovery Center. And part of that agreement is that they're going to provide vehicles as well as money to help support the nonprofit for the education side of it. And the idea behind the showrooms, this won't be the only one that I'll do, is to be able to allow folks in Connecticut to actually see, touch, and feel those vehicles. There's no specific agreement in place for the different car manufacturers, but if you at this conference last week, all the car manufacturers are making multiple lines for the electric vehicles. It's all coming, and they need a place to show that. Now they can show them at their existing dealerships, but they could also show them in the showroom so they can compare. The consumer can compare in the same room, and don't take this as I mean it, because you can buy things at the Apple store, but this is like the EV Apple store. People come in, can see, touch, and feel things. They could take it for a test drive. They can learn about it, but then, they'd have to go somewhere else to buy it. The dealers. One of the key things about the Electric Vehicle Discovery Center and why the car manufacturers are supporting this is because they get the data, they get the information, the demographics. The people are coming in and interested in learning about these vehicles. Part of our deal is we give that information back, right? And then the data is important to them. So this is kind of this is a nice transition from the EV Discovery Center to a showroom to allow that to happen.
Thank you.
Sorry. So what would be the next step? I'm in there, I'm getting gas, I'm getting coffee. I'm kind of curious. I wander over, or I'm legitimately in the market. I go over there, I look, feel, touch, take a test drive. What is ultimately the next step for me to then?
Next step, as we see it, is you get a referral to a dealer to then either make the transaction or explore it further.
Okay. And I don't want to apologize for putting words in your mouth. Potentially, Ford and Chevy could have their vehicles in the same showroom.
Correct.
That's likely to happen? That's going to happen? It could happen?
I believe after my meetings last week that the industry is heading in that direction. There's going to be less need for major car dealerships with a vast sea of inventory on the lots. They're going to be going to more specialized things. It doesn't mean that the dealer network is going to go away. I think it's going to be a different platform.
And that process is somewhat streamlined by this showroom then? I
Yeah,
mean,
and the other part of this is the service side, right? So if you think about it in a way where maybe you have 25 different car dealerships, under the same flag, right? Well, that means that the car manufacturers have to come in and train 25 different staff members or different groups to be able to service electric vehicle. There's going to be a consolidation in my mind that's going to happen where you don't need 25 different service centers in a state like Connecticut, right? You can have a service center or a couple of them strategically located to be able to provide those services.
thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I believe Commissioner Gill has some questions online.
Yes, go ahead, Commissioner Gill, go right ahead.
Yes, a couple of questions. As far as the canopies, both the gas and the electric, is there any thoughts of solar panels on the roof cell area?
That's another great question. Yes, we are working with a solar company now, and our canopies are designed to be able to support the load. The challenge with the solar, in my opinion, is I would consider doing it if we had battery storage to go along with it. And the technology, there's a lot of new technology out there. I don't think it's quite there yet, but we're designing to future proof so that we can support the solar if we can find battery storage that will help support the EV chargers as well as the balance of the facility.
Okay, good, thank you. Also, the what I'll call the back driveway off of Russell Road that goes up and looks like in some of the drawings that it connects with the driveway coming off of East Cedar. What is the real plan there?
Sure. So as I mentioned previously, our initial application had us proposing some modifications to the existing access from Jensen Machine. Through some conversations with them, they had some concerns about some of that geometry. So the plans actually before the commission tonight that's up on the screen kind of readjusts that. So we're able to maintain the Jensen Machine driveway exactly as it sits today. Their operations aren't impacted from a geometric standpoint. There are really steep grades out there, so trying to make those work was a little bit challenging. But we feel that the plans that are before the commission this evening and shown up on the screen, maintain that existing drive in its current configuration, and then adjust the location of our proposed stop sign control driveway on Russell Road. As part of our traffic study, we obviously did a very exhaustive analysis of how those intersections operate, and we believe that even with this tweak, it's still going to operate effectively. And again, as I mentioned before, the DOT has ultimate review and approval overall of this stuff anyways. So we'll have an additional set of eyes, and hopefully the commission can take comfort in that.
I think he might have meant up on the back side, which right now is a big retaining wall. It shows on your drawing, like are you connecting him up on the top left? Or is that
You mean the drive that goes behind the car wash?
Commissioner Gill is asking.
Commissioner Gill? Sure, so I can touch on that. So I think I can maybe provide some clarity there. So as part of previous approvals for this property, there were a number of different projects that were approved, and there were wetland approvals associated with that. Prior to the expiration of some of those former wetland approvals, the owner, Mr. Frisbee, actually went in and installed those access driveways within those limits of those wetland buffers to really solidify and secure those wetland approvals, so there wouldn't be any question about that activity that was approved in the regulated area. So all of that infrastructure exists, and it's kind of funny when you drive by because so much of the site is disturbed, and then you have this little really nice paved, curved areas. So our design essentially connects into that infrastructure. We aren't proposing any additional activity in the regulated area. This application didn't actually require us to go to wetlands, but we are connecting into that infrastructure to make sure that it is a whole uniform and comprehensive development.
So you could technically come in off Russell Road and around the back of the site and then exit out.
You could, yeah, and
So it has continual.
It does provide a connection between East Cedar and Russell. Yes, it does. And it does utilize that infrastructure that was previously constructed.
Any other commissioners have any questions? Commissioner Woods.
Two questions on your traffic count in and out. only Saturday morning matched, right? You had 411 and ins and outs added up to 411. The other ones didn't. I'm just curious, what happens to those people? Yeah, you had either more coming in and less coming out, and are they charging their cars or?
They would.
Right, it's a specifically defined hour period, so they may leave 15 minutes after the next hour. And it's based on industry standard data. I'm not gonna say that I would always agree that always looks logical, but it's, it's based on people will come, stay for a longer period, especially with the EV showroom there. They may be there for over an hour, so.
Logical if they all did match, but the last one did match, which threw me.
It's just the way it happened to work out.
And then my last question is, is it necessary for you to become licensed and regulated by Department of Motor Vehicles for this service area?
For the service center, we just have to comply with the statute. And, depending on, I'm not going to be running the showroom.
No, but what about the repair? So this is considered, I'm assuming, automotive repair.
Yes, we need to have all the licenses in place, yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
John, any questions? Are you all set? So I have one question. You're not utilizing all the property. There's still a piece in the back. Could you give us some insight on how much room is there, and is there any anticipated type of use that you're gonna put there? I like when we have properties, I mean, it's nice to know kind of what the future is of the balance of the property. If you could maybe touch on that a little bit.
Sure. So the property is almost 9 acres total, right? We have a regulated wetland, perched wetland in the top left corner, but generally there's about 2 acres left of developable land. We've had potential uses like apartments. We've had self-storage, not quite big enough for that. I'm actually leaving my options open because on a couple of other properties that we have, we're talking about a mini solar farm to help support with battery storage to help support the charging. So we've had people approach us to go there, and we decided to leave it open space for now.
Okay. Thank you. Staff, do you have any questions?
No questions.
Okay. All right, if there's no other questions, I think what we'll do is we'll go to the public. No, it didn't have to go to wetlands. So, is there anybody wishing to speak in favor of this application? Either in the room or online. If you're wishing to speak in favor of this application, please come forward or raise your hand online.
I don't see anybody.
Mr. Chair, we have plenty people in the room online, but nobody's raising hand as of right this moment.
Okay, hearing none, is there anybody wishing to speak in opposition of this application? You would like to speak in favor? Come on forward, Fred.
Good evening. Fred Callahan, 99 Cedarwood Lane. I grew up in this area. Our farm was there. It's a good plan. It's been vacant for a very long time. It looks terrible the way it is. I saw a project down in East Lyme that they're building, Frisbee's building, and it's beautiful. And I'm sure it's going to be the same way, and I'd like to speak in favor of it.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Anybody else wishing to speak in favor of this application? Either in this room or online? Just give you a couple minutes. Hearing none, if there's anybody wishing to speak in opposition, please come forward. State your name for the record.
Chairman Payne and Commissioners, I appreciate your time. I'm not sure if I really fit the category of either speaking for or against this particular proposal. My name is Luke Jensen. I'm co-owner of Jensen Machine Company. As was referenced earlier, we sit, property is located at 721 Russell Road, just north of the proposed development. Jensen Machine's been in operation at this location since 1946. We've been providing employment to the town of Newington and as well as paying taxes those years. So we first heard of this proposed development from a mailer that the town of Newington sent out a couple weeks ago. You can kind of imagine our surprise, when we went down to town hall and discovered that plans were submitted that changed access to our facility and actually included modifications to our property. Since that discovery, I've actually had some very good and positive communication with Luke from of Solely Engineering, which I appreciate. Really, my primary concern is that we maintain safe and unencumbered access to our facility. I receive about 4 to 5 18-wheeler trucks per week, either delivering material or, shipping out existing product that we make. Trucks are not able to turn around in our facility. So, some back in currently from the street, up our driveway into our facility and then go pull out forward, and then some drive in forward and then pull out back onto the street. So the site plan, at least that was submitted to town hall and was attached, at least in the agenda, had some changes to our driveway, and made a new joint entrance. That plan was inadequate. It basically would not allow trucks. Now, since that point, and from what I've seen in the presentation tonight, and through discussions that I had with Luke, a plan that he sent me a couple days ago, which I believe is the plan he presented tonight. Luke can confirm that. Then now leaves our driveway as is. So again, I just want to make confirmation that the existing plan has no changes to our existing driveway. So, I mean, that gives us access to our facility for trucks, which we appreciate. So I also want to just point out one other thing too that was in that plan that I didn't hear mentioned in this presentation too, is I believe that plan includes an easement on the south side of our building and the north side of your property. And can you confirm that as well, that includes an easement too, so that we can have access to the back of our building? So I appreciate those. So, I mean, our opinion at Jensen Machine really is certainly that the updated site plan is a clear improvement to what was initially submitted. We still have concerns. Traffic study indicates that during busy times of day, a vehicle will enter or exit the proposed development through the Russell Road area about once every 60 seconds. We really feel that at a minimum, the development should ensure that there's very clear sight lines for both our driveway and for the development between the two to ensure their safety. Again, we have trucks that back in and out of that area, and safety is important. Now, we also see that the development includes a brand new intersection on East Cedar Street, and I think that the best options would be one that would drive as much traffic as possible through that intersection and really limit the amount of traffic that goes through the Russell Road entrance. I think that's important to the safety and the consistent, ability for us to operate at our location. Yeah, and I guess just one last point of clarification that I wanted to, actually, let me say one more thing too. I certainly do have concerns with people wanting to cut through at certain times with certain traffic, trying to cut through through the development as well. So if there's other options that could restrict or try to limit the access through Russell Road, I think that would be a safer option for our community. And just one last point of clarification I want to make too. Just our existing driveway, just to make sure we're clear and understand. So our existing driveway is through the right of way on the property, and then it goes through the right of way directly onto our property. So we currently do not travel through the existing development. So just wanted to make sure that was clear. Okay. Thank you, commissioners, for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Tim?
Hi, my name is Joan Silverio, and I actually live 62 Tinsmith Crossing in Weathersfield, which is on the Weathersfield side of Russell Road. Just wanted to point out the obvious, which is that there's 3 gas stations within a mile of this. Also, the state EV charging stations down the street, maybe 2 miles away, less than that. There are plenty of them, and I rarely see more than 5 cars there at any time. In terms of there being a car wash there, there was just a new car wash on the Berlin Turnpike that was just opened recently, probably within the last 6 months. And I have to, I come from Newington and I take a left onto Russell Road, and my heart is in my mouth every time I have to make that left turn, because people coming down from Newington, they are trying to get to go north on the Berlin Turnpike, and they don't slow down for traffic for people who are stopping on Russell Road to go left. They see it as a straight way to go north on the Berlin Turnpike, and it's very dangerous as it is. So I don't know about traffic studies that have been done, but I know that at one time there was a presentation for that property for, I guess it was assisted living or senior living, and there was a traffic study, and it was rejected in part because of the traffic, the additional traffic. I mean, I think part of the reason that I guess it was the DOT changed the way the traffic went was you don't stop there anymore. There used to be a stop sign there to go into Newington off of the Berlin Turnpike, and traffic just keeps going now. I don't know how that's going to affect, this particular property, but I can tell you that there is a ton of traffic coming off the Berlin Turnpike. And I mean, yes, this is the EV, the showroom. It's a great idea. To me, that's the one bonus of this particular property. I mean, this particular presentation and stuff, but nothing against Frisbees. I like their New Britain facility. It got great ice cream and stuff, but I think that the additional traffic that is going to come as a result, and like I said, it's not like we don't have 3 gas stations within a mile of this particular facility. We've got the EV stalls, the charging stations, we got car washes. I can't see that it does anything other than add a lot of traffic. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anybody else wishing to speak here? Come forward.
My name is Jason Bean. Been a Newington resident for 28 years. I actually agree with Mr. Callahan. I don't disagree that maybe this property should be, something should be done with it. I just don't think this project is it. I think, the cornerstone of it being that EV showroom, there's too many what ifs. I actually loved hearing Mr. Frisbee's portion of what he's doing with the nonprofit and certainly the future of transportation, but with companies like Tesla and Rivian not being allowed to sell directly in Connecticut, with proprietary software and things for manufacturers to repair vehicles. I don't know. I think maybe eventually something like that comes down the road, but it could be years before things change law-wise in Connecticut. Massachusetts, a bit of a different story with right to repair and things where, if you have EV Volkswagen, you got to bring it to Volkswagen for most of the repairs it's going to need. So I'm not sure how that pans out. I think the gas station, the car wash, all of that is ancillary to that showroom in this presentation. All things that I'm going to think if you poll Newington residents, that's the last thing we need is more gas stations and car washes and fast food joints. I think on that front, better charging setup in the center, as was mentioned, where your long-standing businesses, Goldberger's, Carvel, all these places that have been around for all these years, you upgrade those setups, and now the center is booming, and you have those EV charging stations. I think the idea of the showroom, and certainly I'm not privy to what the manufacturers are saying, but if the idea of putting all of their vehicles together in a room so they could be compared was ideal, they would already be doing it, EV or not. The fact that they're EV or not doesn't really seem to change the fact that Ford and Chevy and Volkswagen and Mazda are going to want all of their cars together so that everybody can compare them. And I think it's a bit utopian, and maybe to Mr. Frisbee's credit, ahead of its time. And so I'm not sure that it's the best use of that space, especially in a town that has, quite honestly, very limited space to give for new developments. But I'm not opposed to that space being developed. That's not really what it's about for me. It's just I don't think this project is it. That showroom, I think, is great in theory, but there's too many hurdles in the way, and rightfully so. The direct sales model of Tesla. Dealerships certainly have come a long way, but it's better for the consumer to have a franchise dealership to go to when you need service, when you need to go talk to a person. If you do the research on Tesla and Rivian, these companies, that's their complaint. The cars are great. Everybody loves the cars themselves, but the support system around them is not that great. So I don't know that 75% roughly is probably a little bit less than that of the square footage of this project is that showroom. And would look for a little bit of clarification, because I think Kevin, when he was speaking, made a pretty definitive statement that it was not for new vehicle sales, but then a little bit later on, the other gentleman, I apologize, Luke maybe, actually used the phrase new car sales. So I think it's a gamble on the developer's part, right? They're hoping that what's going to come in the future, that they'll already be there and have this space. And that's a cool idea, quite honestly, but I think it could leave the town holding the bag with a big empty building with not a whole lot going on for the foreseeable future because of the laws that already exist in our state that don't exist where maybe they're developing elsewhere. So,
Thank you. Anybody else wish to speak? Come forward, state your name.
Good evening. My name is Vince Giordano. I'm actually an employee of the Shaler Auto Group. I've worked there for 20 years. And so not a resident of the town. I'm not opposed to necessarily the concept of a car wash, fueling station, EV station. I would leave that to the commissioners to decide if that's a good property, a good project for the town. But as Jason mentioned, our concern is the EV manufacturers trying to find loopholes to break dealer franchise law in Connecticut and circumvent the dealer franchise system. So we're just very concerned that we're looking for loopholes to get through that. And I'm not suggesting that these gentlemen are trying to do that. They're obviously very well researched and they've got a beautiful looking project. But as Jason was alluding to, Tesla went into Greenwich and got sued and lost because they said it was just going to be for research and it was just going to be for people to get information. But of course, it's only a natural progression. People go in, they do research, then they want to buy, and orders start being taken, and it goes around the protections for all the dealer employees and the people that work in the state, and it's not good for the consumer. So we just ask that portion of the project be really carefully considered. And the idea of the manufacturers getting together is, like Jason said, it's a cool concept, but all the manufacturers that we deal with do not allow a dealership to have a showroom shared with another manufacturer. So I represent Subaru. Subaru will not allow me to have any other manufacturer share the same building space. Even for separation in between them, it's forbidden. And Honda's the same, and all the other manufacturers I've ever worked with all have strict laws and regulations that say you're not going to build one of our stores with one of our competitors under the same rooftop or sharing any of the common space. So, I don't know that they'd be as open to a concept like this as maybe it's sounding like here tonight, but that's our concern. And so we just want to really be careful about those sort of considerations.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Anybody else wishing to speak in opposition? Is there anybody online that would like to speak?
Mr. Chair, nobody has raised the hand, but we did receive correspondence, and we forwarded that to the commission. I don't know if you wanted us to read that into record tonight.
How many letters did we get?
I have one letter, yes.
Okay. Could you read it into the minutes?
Absolutely.
Thank you.
So it was dated October 26, 2022, Newington Town Planning and Zoning Commission, petition 4222, special permit for 751 Russell Road for electric vehicle showroom and service center to Chairman Payne and members. I write on behalf of the Connecticut Automotive Retailers Association, CARA, to raise serious concerns about the above reference petition 4222, which seeks a special permit to operate an electric vehicle showroom and service center at 751 Russell Road. Previous conduct involving electric vehicle showcasing in Connecticut has resulted in conduct that is in violation of Connecticut statutory law. The purpose of this letter is to explain these concerns and to request that the Commission will take specific steps to ensure that the type of illegal conduct that has occurred at another electric vehicle display location will not happen in Newington. According to the special permit narrative accompanying this petition, this proposed project will include a very large electric vehicle showroom and service center, which is estimated to be 23,500 square feet. The developer has made clear that it plans to use the space to allow drivers to evaluate alternative automobile options in the form of electric vehicles. Such efforts appear to be fairly elaborate, as they are accompanied by not only indoor seating, but also an outdoor patio. The premise of a showroom or other automobile display space in an ostensible effort to educate drivers about electric vehicles has in part served as a backdoor effort to sell vehicles in violation of Connecticut law. As the Commission may be aware, Connecticut law requires motor vehicles to be sold through licensed dealers. Direct sales by vehicle manufacturers are not permitted. Section 1452A of Connecticut General Statutes provides in relevant part that no person, firm, or corporation may engage in the business of buying, selling, offering for sale, or brokerage of any motor vehicle or the repairing of any motor vehicle without having been issued either a new car dealer's, used car dealers, repairers, or limited repairers license. Connecticut law likewise makes clear that manufacturers may not obtain such a license to sell vehicles. See Connecticut General Statutes 1452B. CARA is concerned that the proposed showroom, which is expressly intended to offer potential vehicles purchasers an opportunity to evaluate alternative automobile options in the form of electric vehicles, will result in unlicensed sale of motor vehicles at this location. CARA's concerns stem from a recent experience with Tesla's location at Greenwich, which was the subject of DMV administrative and superior court litigation in Tesla INC v. Connecticut Department of Motor Vehicle number HHBCB 176080099, 2018 WI 7046636. This is a Connecticut Superior Court, December 6, 2018. Tab A. Both the DMV and Superior Court determined that the activities at Tesla Gallery in Greenwich was illegal and in violation of Section 1452. CID at note 10. Although Tesla had attempted to argue that it was not engaged in selling vehicles, both the DMV and the Superior Court disagreed. As the court explained, Tesla was not engaged in the business of selling motor vehicles at the gallery. It is difficult to see what it was engaged in at that location. The record evidence is that gallery employees educated visitors to the gallery with the goal of selling them Teslas. The court noted that Tesla had made available examples of its vehicles, permitted test drives, and allowed customers to format and save a design of their desired vehicles on a computer terminal at the gallery for subsequent purchase from the customer's personal computer. Such activity, as well as the fact that the location's employees were compensated for sales that took place following customer visit to the gallery, led the court to conclude that such actions amounted to selling and offering for sale, which is prohibited in Connecticut by a non-licensed entity such as manufacturer. The Commission should take care to ensure that the showroom proposed in this petition is not used in an improper manner that the gallery was used in the Tesla case. The explicit plans for this location include both showcasing electric vehicles and educating potential buyers about those vehicles. Such conduct risks the type of improper sales activity that occurred in Greenwich. Appropriate considerations include what personnel will staff the showroom, what steps will be taken to assist patrons in evaluating the alternative automobile options. As to electric cars, whether personnel will be employed by manufacturer or non-licensed entity, whether staff will be paid on commission, and whether test drives will be arranged through this location, among other topics. If some or all of these conditions are present, the Newington location will be in violation of state law as the court determined in Tesla. Further injury on these and other relevant considerations are warranted to ensure that the planned use at this location will not violate Connecticut law. If unlicensed selling of motor vehicles were to take place at 751 Russell Road, the zoning enforcement officer would then be obligated to take actions. See Connecticut General Statute Section 8-12, authorizing any official with jurisdiction to prevent any illegal act, conduct, business, or use in any or about such premises. This commission may elect to impose such specific conditions on any permit so as to prevent this proposed use from sliding down the slippery slope to the illegal conduct that gave rise to administrative proceedings and litigation in Tesla. To be clear, CARA does not oppose development or electric vehicles. Quite the contrary, the organization simply seeks to ensure that entitles engaged in selling any kind of new motor vehicle do so in full compliance with Connecticut franchise and consumer protection statutes. As the properly licensed dealers who are authorized to sell vehicles in Connecticut, CARA's members have invested millions of dollars into publicly available electric vehicle charging stations across the state. While CARA welcomes manufacturers who follow Connecticut law by providing electric vehicles through appropriately licensed automotive dealers, it is important to alert this commission to these concerns so that this property will not ultimately be used by a non-licensed party to engage in the illegal sale of vehicles. We appreciate the Commission's attention to this matter and its commitment to upholding Connecticut law. Respectfully submitted by Sarah Fraxwell, who is president of CARA.
Thank you very much. Before you go into rebuttal, we have Councilor Pedreco would like to come forward.
I'm not, for or against it, just have a few questions for clarification. Although it is interesting, the letter you just wrote, because I do believe, I did hear the word going out for test drives and comparing different models. So that just kind of got some things going, but anyways, but that's not what, I just have a few questions in particular. Regarding, I guess the first one obviously is traffic. And as the woman mentioned earlier, that the intersection coming off of Russell Road onto Cedar Street was just recently, relatively recently redesigned to ensure that the traffic flows like quickly, because there were backups before. And it seems like with the new right lane, the new lane that you're putting in is going to impact that plan on keeping traffic flowing, as well as the signalization. So what was done to improve traffic has the potential to be undone. So just a consideration. Something should be to be considered, and I'm sure DOT will work with you on that. But also, it seems like where the proposed traffic signal is going to be is between the Russell Road intersection, and you've got the traffic light, but then you have a fairly busy gym across the street where if traffic starts backing up because of the signalization, that's going to be impossible for people to get in and out of that gym. So that needs to be, I think, considered, or they need to be brought into the conversation. And also, I am just curious, the signal that you're proposing, is it going to be tripped by cars coming out of the driveway, or is it going to be potentially holding up traffic and stopping the flow of traffic all day long when it isn't really needed? So if you can just address that. Because again, that traffic does need to flow fairly regularly. And second, I'm glad to hear, I'm assuming all the vehicles that you will be displaying are going to be housed inside a building, and there won't be like anything on the lot. Since it's not okay. Third, I am just curious as to 135 parking spaces. That to me seems somewhat excessive for a convenience store and a gas station. I don't know. I'm just curious as to why. That just seems like a large number. But if it's required by zoning, whatever. And then fourth, just the car wash is a new use from previous applications that went through. And I'm sure that our town engineer or MDC or whatever and your engineers have done the proper studies, but that is a use that is going to be generating much more flow and more polluted water, more sediment, more oil. And that is, it's wetlands, and it's a precious part of Newington where there's a lot of, wildlife and fauna and flora. And just to ensure that, that this new use is going to be monitored and controlled so that any runoff won't impact the mountain. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Sorry. Anybody else online that would like to speak either in favor or against this? This is your last opportunity. Anybody else in the room? Nobody has their hands up. Hearing nothing, we'll go to the rebuttal by the applicant. Go right ahead.
Again, Kevin Soley, for the record. I'm gonna actually start with the councilwoman's questions, because I think we can certainly clarify and address a lot of those, regarding the traffic. Yes, the DOT actually recently did some improvements through this corridor to improve traffic operations. Our proposed improvements will really just kind of accentuate and ensure that those will continue to function. And the question regarding how that signal will operate and in actuation, the technology with traffic signal control and how approaches are detected and how those signals operate is something that's ever evolving. But for something like this, yes, our driveway approach would have detection, like most likely either radar or camera detection based on the new technology the DOT is doing. So that would only get called when there are vehicles there. And frankly, because of the traffic on East Cedar Street, that East Cedar Street is going to get that priority flow from a traffic standpoint. So we'll have detection zones that are long enough to ensure that as vehicles come off Russell and off of the Berlin Turnpike into that channelization on East Cedar Street, that flow will be, that's going to be a primary concern to make sure those vehicles continue to flow. So that's something that'll get worked into our signal design and through the review and approval process with the DOT. So that's a great question. Regarding the gym, the busy gym across the street, part of what this signal actually does is it provides what's called platoon breakup. So when you actually introduce a traffic signal like this, it actually helps create gaps. So those unsignalized approaches that are along this corridor, it creates gaps in traffic to actually allow for those vehicles to get out safer and quicker, because the signal itself, when it either turns all red and either cars are coming up to it breaks up the platoon, where you may have a string of cars that are so far apart, but when there's that signal control, it creates like a platoon breakup to create gaps for vehicles to get out. So we think that'll actually help some of those other approaches through here, because it is such a highly traveled corridor. I think we answered quickly, but we aren't proposing any vehicle display outdoors. It's all contained inside. Regarding the parking, because this is such a unique use from it's not your traditional gas station with a convenience store, because it has a coffee shop with a drive-through, a sandwich shop, an ice cream shop. When we're looking at the zoning requirements from a parking standpoint, we have to break all those individual uses out, which results in a higher demand. I will say, I think that from a layout standpoint, we were able to consolidate it and spread those spaces around the site, so it doesn't feel like a 135 space parking lot. It's much better designed. We feel that it creates a better overall site experience for anyone who's coming to the facility. And then regarding the car wash, that was a great question and comment regarding the wetlands. The site's a little bit unique because that wetland's actually perched up at a higher elevation. So our proposed facility is actually down grading from that. We're at a lower elevation. The car wash operation itself, there's a very large reclamation tank. So that water is collected, it is treated, it is reused, and then it's only at the very end of its kind of cycle, it will actually get discharged towards East Cedar Street away from those wetlands. So we're able to ensure that there aren't any adverse impacts, any of those natural resources or anything like that.
And that's discharged to the sewer, I would imagine.
Exactly.
It's treated by a well water separator and then it's the sewer.
Yep.
Exactly, right. So there's additional, review going along with all of that. Regarding some of the other questions, we really appreciate the coordination with Mr. Jensen from Jensen Machine. Again, we represented what he was saying, but yes, the plans show and establish the easement for the existing portion of their access that kind of goes around the building on our property, when we are maintaining his access in his current configuration. We are proposing to maybe add a stop sign and a stop bar just to make sure those operations work. But the existing geometry we're proposing to maintain. We understand there's concerns with traffic, but that doesn't necessarily, what we did with our traffic study is we need to understand how that operates and make sure that our project won't impact that. And again, through the DOT, additional review and oversight, they're also going to be very, very focused. They just invested with improvements through here. They're going to want to make sure what we do doesn't adversely impact that. And the other concerns, from some of the other speakers, and obviously the letter written by Cara, we aren't proposing anything that's illegal. We're proposing something that is an allowed use in the zone. It is in compliance with the zoning regulations. We meet those requirements, and we are proposing to fully comply with any and all state statutes. We certainly understand that there's, a potential fear for what if, but we aren't proposing that, it's a difficult thing to try to regulate and oversee. And, there were comments made that were generally supportive of what we're doing, but it's the future and we're not ready for it yet. But you need to prepare for the future. If you don't, you're going to miss it and it's going to go right by you. So, we're really excited about what this project represents. Again, in summation, the project complies with the zoning requirements. I think we have a positive staff report. We can address and satisfy any and all of the engineering comments. And I think what we're proposing is going to be a great addition to the community. It's going to be a great use for this property. And, with that, I guess if there are any other further questions.
Yeah, Commissioner Woods has another question.
Thank you. Just a quick one, I think. I meant to ask this before and it slipped my mind. Is this a phase construction or is it all going to be built in one phase? Is gas station, car wash phase one, or is the proposed electric and vehicle phase one? And
It will be phased. So the Noble, fueling center will go first, and then the EV showroom will come second. And the timeframe is generally, assuming we get our approvals, then we would go to construction. We have to get through DOT. As soon as that's done, we would start construction on phase one, and about 8 to 12 months after that, we start on phase two.
okay, so just unfortunately, at least one more question. So will the infrastructure be in place in phase one? Okay,
Yeah.
That's the answer I wanted to hear.
Yeah, all the infrastructure will have to be in place before we can operate the
right, thank you.
gas Soapy Noble and car wash facility.
Thank you. Any other questions from commissioners? I don't.
Just a hypothetical. If the DOT says they don't want to put a timed or controlled traffic light at that location, what does that do to your project?
I think they requested it from years past, but I'll let the applicant answer the question. I think it was requested.
Did
to have
DOT
one.
request it or?
The
You're requesting it.
previous projects on the site had gone through a process with the DOT and a signal.
Okay.
And that was obviously something that was of concern for them, considering the proximity to the ramps and things like that. So we're confident that we meet the warrants. When the DOT looks at a traffic signal, they have to look at, traffic volumes and their number of traffic signal warrants that have to be met in order to approve and allow for signal to take place. We're more than confident that this project meets and exceeds those warrants,
Okay,
and that the DOT will work with us through this process.
thank you.
You're welcome.
Any other questions? Staff's all set?
Yeah, I have one more quick question.
Yes, John.
Just think just to follow up on that, what like Gary said about the DOT, what if the DOT comes back and looks at your traffic report and says, we don't agree with you, this is gonna cause a lot of traffic, we just redid this, what is your?
Well, I mean, we've had preliminary discussions with them already, so I don't foresee that.
Okay,
It's something that
that's- so
happens.
that's
Yeah,
my
it's
question,
something we
really.
wanted to
gotta
obviously
get-
vet out a little bit beforehand. So
Okay.
we have had those discussions, so I wouldn't expect that to be a possibility.
Okay, if there's no other questions, I think that I would entertain a recommendation to close the public hearing for petition 4122 and we'll move it to all the.
Gotta do both of those.
Possible,
41, 22, and 42.
I'm sorry, yes, 41 and 42.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Trista. Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Okay, the next thing on our agenda is the approval of minutes. We have minutes for 10/12/22, regular meeting and special meeting. I'll entertain a motion for approval of the minutes.
Mr. Chairman.
Motion made by Commissioner Woods. Do I hear a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. Any discussion? Any corrections on the minutes?
Minutes from 10/12.
Yes.
I didn't bring it with me, but I think they said 2020, the year of the 2020.
There is a correction on the date
Yeah,
of the
just-
minutes, and we have noticed that, and we will ask the secretary to correct it. So one date was 12 and one date was 13.
Was a long meeting.
All right, so we have a motion with, for corrected dates on there, and we have
As
a
amended.
second.
Mr. Chairman.
Second.
And seconded. If there's no other discussions or no other corrections, all those in favor? Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously for approval of the minutes. Next thing on the agenda is, we have a new business. We have petition 40-22 site plan at the 751 Russell Road, BBT zone, applicant Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC, owner HDC 1 LLC, contact Kevin Soley. A lot of the site plan stuff was already gone over, but do you have anything else on the site plan that you'd like to go over with us? Okay, there's no, does anybody have any?
I had one question.
Sure.
I noticed, forgive me for going back to get back to this answer. I noticed there's no detention pond on this. Is it under, are you doing another, did I correctly hear you doing all underground? Okay, thank you.
Okay. Any other commissioners have any other site plan questions concerning their site plan? Okay. We're going to go to old business. This is.
We need to move this to old business for possible
It
action.
is on old business.
Is it?
It is on the agenda.
Go ahead of us.
Okay. So,
So, Mr. Chair, as you can see, in a way of staff report for the petitions, all three, 41, 22, 42, 22, and 40, 22. In general terms, the planning department and myself, I am in support of this application. I think the proposal is 7 years ago, this site was approved for a larger development, larger in a sense of build out, a larger in a sense of impact. And if you think even in a sense of traffic impact, the development that is proposed right now generates perhaps more traffic, but it's a traffic that is, for the most part, gas station and car wash in particular, are generators that collect traffic that's on the street already. So those are type of traffic that is called like drive-by traffic. You drive by, you see car wash, and you stop by to wash your car. You don't necessarily make it a destination kind of a drive. So it does not necessarily bring another car. It brings some percent, but not too many destination drives too. The showroom probably will bring some percent of that, but previous approval perhaps brought more of that destination traffic. So in many ways, what is proposed right now is either similar or lesser in comparison of both build out and impact to what was approved 7 years ago. With that in mind, if you agree with the interpretation that was presented to you of the building height, which our regulations define building height as a height that's measured from a median grade on 4 points of the building to the flat of the roof, and then there are some avenues to allow for these interpretive architectural features such as parapet walls. So if you allow that interpretation that was presented to you, that was one thing that I wanted discussed.
Do we have to separate that out, or you just want our verbal?
No,
that
we just
all
need to agree. No, we just need to agree that that's okay interpretation of the regulation. The engineering comments for the most part were technical in nature. There are some outstanding. The applicant submitted revised plans. The plans that we saw tonight appear to have addressed many of those comments. However, we just received the plans, so now we need to review them. In your motions, you will see that the memo from town engineer is referenced in your motion, as well as the memo from town planner. There are still some minor planning comments as well. For example, we had asked for full cutoff lighting plan, things like that. We wanted to see that. We haven't actually seen that until tonight. And the last comment on there is that the building permit does not get issued until at least one more hydrant is provided somewhere along East Cedar Street, because there is one existing hydrant on Russell Street. There will be a need for one more. So with all that, if the commission agrees, we would recommend approval of this.
Okay, thank you. So briefly, go ahead, Commissioner.
Ron, do you know why that plan was scrapped 7 years ago?
I do not know that. I do not know that.
So on the height of the buildings, we talked about that briefly. The necessity of it is to hide the equipment on the roof. I think it's a nice design, and I would hate to take the parapet down any lower where we're gonna see the equipment up there on the roof. So I have no problems with the way it's been designed. And if we could just go down the line and make sure the other commissioners are in agreement, then we can move forward on the motions.
Yeah,
No.
it's a very tasteful touch, that screening hydrant.
Okay. Commissioner Woods, you're all set with that?
I'm fine with it, yes.
Okay, very good. No other commissioners' concerns. All right, I'll entertain if one of the commissioners would like to read the first petition 41-22, please.
Petition 41-22, special permit, section 3.15.4, drive-through restaurant at 751 Russell Road. Applicant Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings, LLC. Owner HDC1 LLC. Contact Kevin Soley. Approve. Move to approve the special permit for a drive-through restaurant, subject to conditions in a memo from, number one, Assistant Town Planner Hinckley, dated 10/25/2022, to contact Kevin Soley. Two, Town Engineer Furstenberg, dated 10/21/2022, to contact Kevin Soley. Reason for the approval: the proposal meets the special permit criteria of sections 3.15.4 and 5.2 of the zoning regulations.
Okay, we have a motion on the table from Commissioner Havens.
Second.
Seconded by the Vice Chairman Claffey. Is there any discussion of the motion? Noreen, if you could do a roll call vote, please. Noreen?
Yep, I'm sorry.
Okay.
Chairman- Commissioner Claffey,
Yay.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Yes.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Trister,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne.
Yes.
It's unanimous.
Thank you very much, Noreen.
You're welcome.
And if we could go to petition 42-22, Commissioner Claffey, if you'd like to.
Petition number 42-22, special permit section 3.15.9, EV showroom, auto-related use at 751 Russell Road. Applicant Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC, owner HDC1 LLC. Contact Kevin Soley. Move to approve the special permit for a drive-through restaurant subject to conditions in the memo from one, Assistant Town Planner Hinckley, dated 10/25/2002, to contact Kevin Soley, excuse me. Number two, Town Engineer Furstenberg, dated 10/21/2022, to contact Kevin Soley. Reasons for the approval: the proposal meets special permit criteria sections 3.15.9 and 5.2 of the zoning regulations.
Mr. Chairman, if I make one correction, I had an error in that. It should say special permit for the auto-related use, not the drive-through restaurant. For the one we just, 22.
I just, if you had to reread it. Move to approve the special permit, correction, move to approve the special permit for an auto-related use subject to conditions in a memo from, already spoke prior.
Okay. Motion made by Vice Chairman. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Commissioner Havens. Is there any discussion? Noreen, if you could do a roll call, please. We have a motion on the floor. Those that are in approval?
I think she just unmuted herself.
Commissioner Claffey,
Yay.
Commissioner Haggerty,
Yes.
Commissioner Havens,
Yes.
Commissioner Linares,
Yes.
Commissioner Trister,
Yes.
Commissioner Woods,
Yes.
Chairman Payne.
Yes.
You're unanimous.
Thank you, Noreen.
You're welcome.
Okay. And Commissioner Linares, would you mind reading petition 40-22, please?
Yeah, absolutely. Before I just read this, is there any changes to this one as well?
Yes.
Okay, well,
I see I copied and pasted those back.
Gotcha.
Yes, this is just a move to approve the site plan at 751 Russell Road. I apologize for that. Subject to those conditions.
Petition 40-22 site plan application at 751 Russell Road, applicant Noble Energy Real Estate Holdings LLC, owner HDC One LLC, contact Kevin Soley. Approve. Move to approve the special permit for site plan at 751 Russell Road, subject to conditions in memo from 1. Assistant Town Planner Hinckley, dated 10/25/22, to contact Kevin Soley. 2. Town Engineer Furstenberg, dated 10/21/22, to contact Kevin Soley. And 3, a fire hydrant, the location of which will be approved by the fire marshal, shall be provided prior to issuance of the building permit for the first building proposed to be constructed. Reasons for the approval. The proposal meets the site plan requirements in section 5.3 of the zoning regulations.
Thank you, Commissioner.
Say special permit, site plan is not a special permit, it's just a site plan for this last one.
So that,
Sorry about
so
that.
it'll be that correction, not a problem. Do I have a second? Seconded by Commissioner Woods. Is there any discussion? Sure.
In a fourth condition that, we talked about it and I believe the applicant has agreed to it, but there's nothing been said that the applicant is going to be, has to maintain access to the neighbor's property through, because it's through his, correct? I mean, the
So
applicant,
right away, I believe, isn't it?
yeah, but is the right of way there now or? Oh, there is it? Oh, okay. Okay, all right.
Okay.
Then I'm good.
Very good. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. Congratulations. We look forward to your application. Okay, we have just one thing on petitions for public hearing scheduling. I'm not sure if Renata wants to go over anything on that. No?
No, not necessary. You saw this, we'll have this tentatively heard at the next meeting, but it's temporary events.
Okay. Town planners report, current land use applications, which is already you can go on the webpage and then she wants to talk about the extension of the time, so.
Yeah, so the 680 North Mountain Road has granted the commission 65-day extension of time to act on their application. They were just not ready yet, so they gave us an extension and they're working on revising their plans. So
Is there any questions concerning town planner's report? Does any commissioner have any questions for the town planner? We're going on to communications. We have the CROG letters we received. Does any commissioner have it?
I have one question.
Sure.
Mr. Chairman, on the Rocky Hill Planning and Zoning Commission. It's the proposed zoning amendment to allow office to affordable housing transitional development under special permit. I mean, the big buzzword is around here is affordable housing. We're having some built in town. You know anything about this of like allow office, is that like allow office space or mixed use? I'm kind of a little.
I don't know what this is about. Is that it has been a dead industry for forever. If they are converting their regulations to allow as of right process where you can convert an existing office building under adaptive reuse to affordable housing, then that could be what this is. Some kind of process to convert existing buildings for adaptive reuse.
Okay, I just grabbed my attention since we have so much housing going on in town, so. Researching.
Any other questions? Okay, we're gonna move to public participation. If there's anybody within the Zoom application to raise their hands, if you would like to participate during the public participation, if calling in Zoom meeting by telephone, dial *9 to raise your hand to be recognized, use *6 when recognized to speak by telephone. And you can state your name and address for the record. Is there anybody in the room that would like to come forward? Or is there anybody online that would like to raise their hand to speak?
No one has their hand raised.
Not in rows, that's really strange.
Okay, hearing none, is there any remarks from the commissioners? I want to thank everybody. I think we had a very good meeting and entertain a motion to adjourn. So moved. All in favor? Aye. Thank you. Good night, everybody.